Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Belchan.
I'm Nimikung.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you. Chap. 37 sec. 1 of Jane Eyre, an autobiography.
As.
Ah.
Jane Eyre, an autobiography. Brontë. Chap. 37 sec. 1. The manor house of Ferndon was a building of considerable antiquity, moderate size, and no architectural pretensions. Deep buried in a wood. I had heard of it before. Brontë. Rochester often spoke of it, and sometimes went there. His father had purchased the estate for the sake of the game covers. He would have let the house, but could find no tenant, in consequence of its ineligible and insalubrious site. Ferndon then remained uninhabited and unfurnished. The squire went there in the season to shoot. Said sky, cold gale, and continued small penetrating rain. The last mile I performed on foot, having dismissed the chaise and driver with the double remuneration I had promised. Even when within a very short distance of the manor house, you could see nothing of it. So thick and dark grew the timber of the gloomy wood about it. Iron gates between granite pillars showed me way to enter, and passing through them, I found myself at once in the twilight of close ranked trees, under branched arches. I followed it, expecting soon to reach the dwelling, but as stretched on and on, it went far and farther. No sign of habitation or grounds was visible. I thought I had taken a wrong direction and lost my way. The darkness of natural as well as of London gathered over me. I looked round in search of another road. There was none. All was interwoven stem, columnar trunk, dense summer foliage, no opening anywhere. I proceeded. At last my way opened. The trees thinned a little. Presently I beheld a railing. Then the house was scarce. By this dim light, distinguishable from the trees, so dank and green were its decaying walls. Entering a portal, fastened only by a latch, I stood amidst a space of enclosed ground, from which the wood swept away in a semicircle. There were no flowers, no garden beds, only a broad gravel walk girdling a grass plat, and this set in the heavy frame of the forest. The house presented 2 pointed gables in its front. The windows were latticed and narrow. The front door was narrow too. One step led up to it. The hall looked, as the host of the Rochester Arms had said, quite a desolate spot. It was as still as a church on a weekday. The pattering rain on the first leaves was the only sound audible in its vicinage. "Can there be life here?" I asked. Yes. Life of some kind there was, for I heard a movement that narrow front door was unclosing, and some shape was about to issue from the grange. It opened slowly. A figure came out into the twilight and stood on the step. A man without a hat. He stretched forth his hand as if to feel whether it rained. Dusk as it was, I had recognised him. It was my master, Edward Fairfax Rochester, and no other. I stayed my step, almost my breath, and stood to watch him to examine him, myself unseen, and us, to him invisible. It was a sudden meeting, and one in which rapture was kept well in check by pain. I had no difficulty in restraining my voice from exclamation, my step from hasty advance. His form was of the same strong and stalwart contour as ever. His port was still erect. His hair was still raven black, nor were his features altered or sunk. Not in 1 year's space, by any sorrow, could his athletic strength be called or his vigorous prime blighted. But in his countenance I saw change. Bert, dangerous to perch in his sullen woe. The caged eagle, his gold-ringed eyes cruelty has extinguished. Might look as look that, said Samson. And reader, do you think I feared him in his blind ferocity? If you do, you little know me. Kiss on that brow of rock, and on those lips so sternly sealed beneath it. But not yet. I would not accustom yet. He descended the one step, and advanced slowly and gropingly towards the grass plat. Where was his daring stride now? Then he paused, as if he knew not which way to turn. He lifted his hand and opened his eyelids. Gaze blink, and with a straining effort, on the sky, and toward the amphitheatre of trees. One saw that all to him was with darkness. He stretched his right hand the left arm, the mutilated one. He kept it in his bosom. He seemed to wish by sticking an idea of what lay around him. He met but vacancy still, for the trees were some yards of where he stood. He relinquished the endeavour, folded his arms, and stood quiet and mute in the rain, now falling fast on his covered head. At this moment John approached him from some quarter. "Will you take my arm?" "Sir," he said, "there is a heavy shower coming on." "Let me alone," was the answer. John withdrew without having observed me. Wister. Rochester now tried to walk about. Van Leal was too uncertain. He groped his way back to the house, and then, re-entering it, closed the door. I now drew near and knocked. John's wife opened for me. "May," I said. She started as if she had seen a ghost. I calmed her. To her hurried, "Is it really you?" "But come at this late hour to this lonely place?" I answered by taking her hand. And then I followed her into the kitchen, where John now sat by the fire. I explained to them, in few words, that I had heard all which had happened since I left Thornfield, and that I was come to see Mr. Rochester. I asked John to go down to the Turnpike House, where I had dismissed the chaise, and bring my trunk, which I had left there. And then, while I removed my bonnet and shawl, to be continued.